you crying. Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Father, Father, we don't need to escalate. War's not the answer, for only love can conquer. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving. Oh, yeah, yeah. They get lights, they get lights, they get sight, they get sight. Punish me with brutality. Talk to me, honey, so you can see what's going on. What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. Ooh.
1960s, 1970s, 1980s. Pray for the babies. What's going on? The world is going crazy. Thank God for how Mama and Marvin raised me. On the right track, we fight back and stay black. Bulletproof, speak truth and state facts. Politically correct. From your town to Motown, I never broke down or spoke out for no rights. If anything, I spoke up for your rights. So tonight's the night for me and Marv to get it on. We trying to figure out what's going on. Yes.
Everybody thinks we're wrong. They do. But who are they to judge us? Simply cause our hair is long. People, you know, we've got to find a way to bring some understanding here today. They get lights, they get sight, but don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me, so you can see what's going on. What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? Wanna know what's going on? All right. I wanna know what's happening. What's happening, my man?
It's a Triller night, Marv.
Now I'm back on the scene. What's happening, brother? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening, brother?
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips in the balance of the favor of fair use. Hello, and welcome to Blended Healing. There is a new word that has been unlocked on the board. I don't know if you heard about it, but we're going to talk about it. You ever heard of the word echoism? Echoism. Echoism is the opposite of narcissism. People who are echoist are people who are the opposite of a true narcissist, but on the same scale of self-centeredness and attention-seeking behaviors. They not only fear being perceived as a narcissist, but actively put other people's emotions, needs, and validation above their own, at their own expense. Yep. New word unlocked on the board. Echoist. An echoist will not blame shift, but they victimize themselves in traumatic situations or when they're dealing with difficult emotions, which is much like a narcissist. An echoist does the opposite. They take accountability, but then they frame themselves as a perpetrator in the face of their own traumatic experience. They have zero narcissistic ways, allegedly, but they still have unresolved trauma. So here's the quiz for today. Da-dum-da-dum. Who fits this category? If you raise your hand if you raise your hand 6 times, you are borderline echoist. How about that? All right, let's shoot for it. The first one is they repress their emotions and their feelings, which is a result of, often anyway, of childhood trauma and their constant betrayal in toxic relationships. They develop a tendency to repress emotions and their feelings to better serve the needs of others. And they are 100% available to support others, but don't receive and don't expect it in return. And with their dismissal of their emotions, their only experience is that they're under acknowledged. Despite showing, I should say, these behaviors, it's still a discourse because they will isolate themselves from accessing any information or acknowledging any healing from their own toxic tendencies. Number 2, they're insecure. Without a self-fulfilling identity and healthy practice to build up their own ego and their own confidence, they struggle with behaviors tied to their insecurity. They're anxious that people will abandon them or pass harmful judgment on them if they aren't constantly available to support and solve other people's problems. They're constantly pushing personal issues aside and opportunities, even their own passions, even their own interests, for the sake of other people's comfort. Number 3, they're uncomfortable being the center of attention. They have developed a discomfort with praise or being the center of attention because of their own fears of being perceived as a narcissist. So they are overly modest, they are overgiving towards other people, and they convince themselves that they don't need support or attention in public or in relationships. Number 4, they are people pleasers. Instead of feeling celebrated to mold into their own identity and support in maybe advocating for themselves or communicating for themselves, They learn to prioritize the happiness and the comfort of others. Not only does this keep them in a cycle of unmet needs, but it's constant guilt, anxious attachment, and emotional turmoil, and it isolates them. Okay. Number 5, they're empathetic to a fault. They learn empathetic traits early in their lives, becoming attuned to other people's emotions and feelings, often as a side effect. They don't really fight for attention, but what they'll do is they'll keep the peace. They'll keep the peace. So they show an outward empathy and they sacrifice their own needs, and they're driven by fear of attention, abandonment, or judgment from others. Number 6, they have often avoid and anxious attachment styles, meaning that they tend to learn how to interact with other people from their childhood. They learn to put their own needs aside to reassure and protect other people. They're self-isolating when their own emotions grow out of control. They have a panic button on the inside. But what they do is that they are unable to repress their emotions any further. They seek immediate comfort for a lot of different things, and maybe even resorting back to disconnection and isolation. Okay? Number 7, they struggle with mature sense of self. They hit a roadblock in developing a mature ego and a sense of self. They would allow themselves to confidently and comfortably pursue their own interests, develop their own perspective, and advocate for themselves and their needs. But instead of them doing that, they have learned, usually from a toxic or narcissistic parent, that they should repress their needs to make other people more comfortable. Number 8, they obsess about other people's reactions when asking for support. You see, they tend to repress their own emotions to avoid asking for support or help from their inner circle. And they're not always that because they know they won't receive it, but because they frame their own emotional and physical needs as a burden to other people. And when they repress their needs, it bubbles up and they do share them with other people, but they tend to obsess over them for days afterwards. Number 9, they struggle with addressing distractions and focusing. When someone else needs something from them or there's an external situation, they struggle with focusing on themselves, their work, or their main priorities, fearing being perceived as a narcissist or selfish above everything else. They put not only their emotions on hold, but their projects, their workload, their day-to-day things that they do, and they put it on the back burner. And number 10, they self-sabotage. Whether it's work-related or something that they want to do for themselves, some kind of creative project or whatever, they're going to sabotage themselves anytime. Anytime. They have over things that fulfill their unique identity. They struggle with comfort in investing in time and energy into themselves. as a result of their immature identity and lacking self-esteem, leading to feelings of guilt when they prioritize themselves. If you got more than 6 of those, baby, we need to have a conversation. And you know where I'm going to start with that? I'm going to start about people pleasing. That's where we're going to start, because enough is enough. Enough is enough. If you are the person who does not like to say no, are you one of that everybody comes to when they need a ride, a babysitter, a chef, or even a damn organ transplant? Do you find yourself having laundry list of things to do and none which have anything to do with your own personal goals? Have you ever looked up and looked at the clock and it says 10 o'clock at night and you have gotten none of the things done on your personal to-do list? You have been a personal shopper, a dog walker, a Lyft driver, a nail tech, an exterminator for your friends and your family and your neighbors. And do you often push aside what you would love to do for something that someone else would like you to do? And if you answered yes, then you're a people pleaser. So don't get it twisted. There's nothing wrong with helping your friends and your family. And it's not a problem to have some spare time to assist those in need. The problem is that a people pleaser is knowing they don't know how to say no when a situation is not conducive to their own well-being. And a lot of us are recovering people pleasers who sometimes relapse, having difficulty discerning when something in our responsibility versus what something is charitable choice. In plain English, you have difficulty discerning what is for your benefit and then something that'll benefit somebody else. I want to ask you, why do you sacrifice your own happiness, even knowing what makes you happy does not always have to appease the next person? You got to look at it as taking the path of least resistance. It's a tactic to avoid awkward moments of arguments or conflicts, because no one wants to be the cause of a conflict. And who else is going to keep the peace if you decide to say no or voice your opinion? Don't be an echoist. Don't be a people pleaser. When you see that you're doing this, catch your life and catch yourself. Because nobody's going to fight for your peace if you don't. You got to take a stand somewhere and voice your wants and your needs and be verbal about something that doesn't please you or that feels uncomfortable to you. Will not stop the world. You feel me? The sun ain't going to come out at night and the fish won't decide to fly. It's perfectly okay for you to have some opposition to those around you from time to time. It's going to be all right. They're going to survive. Don't be an echoist. Don't. And if you know anybody who is, pull them aside and say, yo, let me holler at you for a minute. Let's talk about it. Now that you have the point of the matter of what we were talking about today, you're going to need a little help figuring out when to flex your muscles. You know what I'm saying? If you have plans and someone calls you at the last minute, always, because it's always in the 11th hour, they're like, and passing out and falling out. But that's something that ain't got nothing to do with you. You got to rip the sleeves off your shirt and welcome them to the gun show and let them know your schedule is full. Oh, doesn't it feel good to flex? So say right now we're in the holiday season, right? And you know that you just want to rest, to go out with a few friends for a drink or take a trip out of town, but your family expects you to be there to make the German chocolate cake, right? And shuttling people home and washing all the dishes and pack your bag in advance and let them know that you will be spending the holiday on some beach somewhere. Yeah. You just got a 6-pack full of muscles. Listen, if you don't use that new muscle that you got, you're going to lose it. Make sure that you are in a daily habit of checking in with yourself to make sure that the things that you are committing to doing are things that bring you joy in some way. You will feel yourself increasing in your smiling, laughing, and all around being relieved of stress. And if you start to slack off and you don't do these practices, saying no, then you're going to see the adverse effects. So once you get a taste of freedom, you ain't going to want to go back. Now get on that marathon of self-fulfillment, and it ain't selfish. And if you're happily helping other people, and if it's enjoyable for everybody involved, then cool. Don't be an echoist and stop being a people pleaser, all right? It ain't cute. You bigger than that. You stronger than that. Let your no be a whole sentence and not just a word. And I'm done. I'm done here. It was real quick. I ain't hold you long. I'm done. So be well, stay safe. I say and deep bow to each and every one of you. And I shall see you all very, very soon. And happy holidays to you and your family.
You have dialed has reached their people limit for the day. Please hang up and try back tomorrow. Again, thanks for calling. The person you have dialed has reached their people limit for the day. Please hang up and try back tomorrow. Again, thanks for calling. The person you have dialed has reached their people limit for the day. Please hang up and try back tomorrow.